How you doing, everybody? It's me again. Today I wanted to record a video just as a reminder for everybody to give yourself some love, to be understanding, to give yourself some grace. The reason I'm saying it again, a lot of these things that I say on this channel or for these videos, it's a lot of the stuff that I go through like on a day-to-day basis. So as you can see, a lot of my videos are very different, I think, at least. And it's because, I go through a lot of different, mental states, a lot of different thought processes, a lot of different things, right, that happen. And so I know right now, lately, I've just been realizing, like, man, same thing that I've said in several other of my videos, where I'm kind of like, hey, I keep getting this like little voice that tells me this and that, you're not, like, oh, you're not this, or you can't do this, you're not capable, whatever. All these like negative things, right? And so I realized lately, honestly, and one of the things that I have to really make that, where I have to make that conscious effort to like remind me that in a way, I am very blessed. And I know it's something that I've talked about before, and I know everybody has different circumstances, but I'm surrounded by people that I think love me. They tell it to me, they show it to me. And unless they're lying or or something, I don't know, but sometimes I feel like it's a bit, how would I say it? It's a bit wrong of me to kind of, feel the way that I feel, because it feels as if it feels as if I'm kind of reducing or taking away from what they're telling me, or from what they're showing me. Like, I'm not giving them enough credit, like, I'm not taking them seriously, like, I don't trust them, like, I don't believe them, right? And so I realize, I'm surrounded by so many people that I think, love me, and they tell it to me and they show it to me. I feel that, the fact that, let's say, like, I have an education and I have a job, I have a career in a way, even if it isn't, let's say, the one that I am necessarily the happiest with or something like that, but in the end it is still something. And the fact that like I'm not struggling with hunger or struggling with a place to be. I'm not really suffering with any like addictions. I guess I know addictions can be broad. It doesn't always have to be like drugs, alcohol, and other things like that. I know sometimes it can be little things like, oh, I'm addicted to my phone, or I'm addicted to, I don't know, just eating or something. There's a lot of different things. But I feel like I don't really suffer from any addictions or anything like that. And like, I'm happy about the fact that I speak two languages, and I feel like that helps me out a lot and everything. Long story short, there's a lot that I feel that I'm blessed with, right? And so again, I just wanted to kind of record this to kind of like tell everybody else, anybody that might watch it, like, yeah, no matter what your mind tells you sometimes, that you're not maybe worth much, or that you can't do this, you can't do that, or you're not this person, or you're not who you're supposed to be, or you're not, almost as if you didn't really have a justification to be you, or something like that. And I say, like, man, don't let that get to you. I think we have to make the conscious effort to try and remind ourselves, like, who we are and what we have to offer. Yeah, you can be realistic and talk about the things, you can be realistic and realize that, yeah, sometimes we aren't all there, sometimes we're not all good and everything. That's understandable, that's fine. But what I'm trying to say, it's like, sometimes you just have to sit down and say, you know what, I'm not that bad, or like, I have something to offer. I think we're all like different flowers, different plants and everything, that not only look different, grow different, right? But it's, or let me expand on that. We're different plants, and we all grow different. We all bloom differently, at different speeds, at different times, and again in different ways, right? And the amount of nutrition sometimes that we need, whether it be like sunlight, let's say water, whatever it may be, sometimes is a little different for a lot of us. You know what I'm saying? And I feel that that's how we all are. And so sometimes we have to sit down and just realize, you know what, like I do have good things in my life, and I think that I do have things that I can contribute to others, and this is also something that's affecting me now, like dealing with these thoughts of like, oh, you're not this, you're not that, and everything, because I feel lost in terms of my career. Because right now, like, the job that I have and everything, yeah, it relates to what I studied and everything, but again, even back then, it was never something necessarily, or at least, I got a taste of it now, and now I know what it's about. But it's not necessarily something where I think I could stay long term, just for the fact, you know, of many reasons, you know, but it comes with its pros and cons, obviously, but also, you know, maybe like the money and everything. And I wouldn't encourage everybody to like, oh, just go do things for money, but I also understand, you know, money's important, you know what I'm saying? Money's important and you need it to get out there, especially nowadays that things are just getting so rough out here. And so what I'm trying to say is that since I'm kind of at a crossroads with my career where I'm like, man, I'm not necessarily sure where to go next. And it's a world of possibilities out there, a whole sea of possibilities, you know what I'm saying? So then it gets overwhelming because then you think about, oh man, what should I do and everything. And then you think, oh man, do I get in debt if I go back to school, or do I, you know, pursue this, you know, maybe like a trade or something. And then you also start thinking about other things that you might want to learn, like skills, stuff like that. And it can get really overwhelming, right? Really overwhelming. But what I'm trying to say is, you know, don't get lost in the world of possibilities, because I feel like what happens with me is that I get so overwhelmed by it and thinking about it where I want to make the one right decision and everything, that it freezes me up, and then I don't do anything. I don't start looking more into one thing or into another, into doing one thing or another, and then it's counterproductive, you know what I'm saying? It's like you put yourself in such a mentality where you want to make the right choice, you know, where you want to be effective and productive and all these things, but then in the end you do the complete opposite of it all, you know? At least the start is, hey, I want to change, I want to do something better, that's good. But if you're not able to actually take action to get there, then it's counterproductive, right? So, because that's what my father told me. He's like, it's good that you're thinking about something, but you have to do it. You can't just think about it. There's no use in that, and he's absolutely right. So again, just to remind yourself, you know, sit down and think. Like I said, like with me, sometimes like right now, like before I recorded this, I was thinking to myself, like, you know what, like, again, and this obviously, like I said, I'm going to use myself as an example, but I was like, you know what, like, you know, you're bilingual and you know how to scuba dive, you know, you're very good with people, and that's something that you could consider with like your career, because I've never been truly sure about what I wanted to do in my life, but I always knew that like I'd love to help other people, you know. In what setting, it's different, you know, because you can always think about nursing, you know, healthcare, doctors, you know, something dealing with like health, you know, stuff like that. But there's also other ways, you know, music, people that, you know, share music and that impacts the lives of others, or even food, you know, maybe somebody's having a rough day and then they go stop by somewhere, eat some food, and they're like, wow, you know, this is delicious, whatever, and that can make somebody's day too. Like there's a lot of ways that you can impact people's lives. But you know, so then, like I said, I think about these things, you know, oh, I can do this, oh, I'm learning that. Like I said, the whole, like the horseback riding and everything, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm learning, you know, with the equestrian classes and everything, I'm learning something new. I'm gonna have my family, you know, and they love me and everything. I have people that love me and everything, and I'm really grateful for them and whatnot. You know, it's like, oh, you know, physically I feel like I'm healthy, you know, like I'm not doing too bad and everything. Like you just have to really sit down and remind yourself of the good things, because sometimes I feel like your mind makes that sometimes your mind just wants to put you down, and sometimes we don't even know why. Like honestly, right now I'm kind of questioning and it's like, how did I get to this point? How did I get to this point where my mind tries to play all these games on me, where it takes away from what people tell me? Like if they tell me that they love me, I start doubting it. If I, you know, feel that things are going very well, I start doubting it, and I start becoming fearful and doubtful and paranoid and all these other things. And I'm like, you know what? Like I just think, you know, sometimes we have to take that conscious effort to at least try and just talk with ourselves and say, hey, you know what? You're sure you're afraid of this and whatnot, but hey, you also have these good things going for you. You know what I'm saying? And we should use it for the betterment, for the improvement of everyone else, you know, kind of like contribute it to society one way or another. I think we all have something nice to contribute that sometimes we just don't get out of ourselves because we're so caught up with life and other things. So, you know, just a reminder, you know, sit down with yourself, talk to yourself, and just remind yourself of who you are, of the good things. Don't just focus on the bad things, because again, if you just focus on that, then I feel like it's just going to be a never-ending cycle of the same thing. And I like to think about these things as like a muscle that you flex to try and get stronger, right? So I feel like the more that you try and, you know, kind of switch the perspective on certain things, you know, kind of like to reframe things in a more positive light, it's my hope at least that you'll be able to actually get to that point where instead of thinking negatively automatically, you switch to the positive side. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that negativity is going to disappear permanently. Of course not. I know life doesn't work like that. But I do think if I have my mind and everything and I can have these thoughts, why in hell would I make it my conscious effort to think on the negative end and not think on the positive end? You know what I'm saying? So give yourself some grace, sit down, talk to yourselves, and hopefully, you know, it'll help. And again, I'm not saying anything different. Like I know with these videos, you know, they're They're nothing sophisticated, nothing like that. I literally just come to my basement, I record myself talking. I don't really use like sources or anything like that to really like back up the things that I say. I just kind of go kind of like from the heart or from like my gut what I think. And obviously that's not always, you know, what works for everybody. And that's exactly and you know, and that's true. So if you ever watch this video, you know, don't think that what I say, it's like, it's obviously not law, it's obviously not what works for everybody, you know, but this is just my personal experience and the things that I'm going through. And I'm still struggling just with kind of getting out of this mentality, because I kept thinking to myself, well, why am I in this rut? Why am I here? Whatever. And another thing that I've started too is also I reached out and I'm going to start, you know, therapy and stuff like that to actually help me out. So again, you know, just for anybody who's struggling and you feel that you may feel that you can't get out of it by yourself, definitely seek out therapy, because I'm actually excited for it, because I hope that it can hopefully maybe enlighten me in some way, or at least make the things more manageable, so that hopefully, you know, I can kind of break the ice and kind of get out of that, you know, get out from underneath that surface that's like holding me back, so that hopefully I can start chipping away at it, get to the surface of it, and hopefully start living a more positive life or whatever. And I know that life isn't always positive. I know that a lot of things, challenges, and just life happens, you know, but hopefully it can get me on the right path. So again, just like I said, you know, give yourself some grace, remind yourself of the things that you are, the good things, right? The good things. I'm not saying never focus on the negative. No, sometimes we have to face it in order to solve it, you know, but definitely give yourself some grace and give yourself some rest. Sometimes we need some rest too, and stop, you know, just a little break from having to think about all these million things, or the millions of things that we have going on in our head, because then I think it just impacts our way to kind of get out there and try to do the things that we want. Again, you don't want to freeze up. You want to do things, but you don't want to freeze up. So if you feel like you're freezing up because of everything that you're thinking and all that, take a step back, relax, focus on what you do have to offer and the good things about you, so that hopefully when you do have the opportunity to get back into it, and especially if you have the privilege, hopefully, or maybe not the privilege, but the luxury, or whatever it may be, to actually just be able to take a step back and think about things, so that hopefully once you're able to return, you can hopefully do it in a much better way. And again, it's not necessarily, I don't necessarily think that it's easy per se. I remember reading this quote, and again, I forgot who wrote it, but it's something along the lines of, it gets easier every day, but the hard part is doing it every single day. And another one that I saw was, men and their needs, or all men with their needs are very similar, but it is their habits that set them apart. So again, for me, it's, well, if that's the case, I don't want to be one of those, you know, men that is taking part in negative habits that's detrimental to their life. And I feel like I don't really have negative habits per se. I feel like my life overall is pretty good, but I feel like just there's something up here that I haven't understood, something up here that just hasn't clicked, that's kind of ruining it for me. So be careful about that, because honestly, some days I just wake up and I'm like, man, I just don't want to try anymore. I do not want to continue feeling this way. I just want to throw in the towel. I just want to give in. I'm like, I'm done. I don't want to keep feeling this way. But then I think about my parents, my loved ones, you know, the people that I know I love and that love me and everything. And then I say, can't do that. Think about the sacrifices my parents made to come here, and I'm like, can't do that. And I know for everybody it's different. Some people have more of a solo journey on their hands, and that's fine too. I feel like if anything, it displays or shows more strength. So all I can say is, you know, just don't fall into that. Don't give up. Give yourself some grace. Take a break. Get back into it, and just remind yourself of what you truly are. Don't just allow your mind to focus on the negative sides, because I don't think that's not all there is to it. So with that being said, I hope y'all have a good one. God bless y'all, and thank you again for listening. I hope it helps.